We don't hit home runs on this pod. We work station to station. Back with my battery mate, as always, Dustin. Dustin, you know who hits home runs? Shohei
Shohei
Ohtani.
Ohtani.
Yes. All right. Well, we have caught Dustin on his drive home. I think, Dustin, we've kind of been waiting and trying to, I guess, waiting for a move to talk about because we had kind of decided that we weren't going to speculate. But really, I don't know. The things have really built up over the last maybe 7 days, I would say, maybe just less. And we're getting multiple Shohei Ohtani updates a day now. I never really thought we'd be in this scenario. Dustin, when we last talked, you had told me that you were on a Blue Jays detox. Can you confirm if that is still the case?
No, I'm back full force as much as I could get. Um, no, it's really exciting to hear Otani news, and even if it's unconfirmed rumors, it's hyping me up already, and it's not even Christmas yet.
All right, before we get all lathered up with more Otani talk, I just want a couple housekeeping items, I guess, that have happened since we last talked, which it has been a few weeks. So Matt Chapman did decline his qualifying offer. So this means that if he does sign elsewhere, which it is still possible that he signs with the Jays, but if he does sign elsewhere, the Jays will get a pick after the fourth round as they are a luxury tax team. Adam Simber non-tendered, so we're not going to see him back with the Jays. Probably not really that surprising as he did get injured last season and really never kind of was able to replicate his prior success with the team. DeMarlo Hale, a kind of name from the past, has been brought back to the team as an associate manager. I feel like maybe we could talk about, as things take shape for the season, Dustin, we can maybe talk about what role he's going to play a little bit later. But let's get into, some real offseason banter. The winter meetings are happening in Nashville as we speak. I guess we're kind of right at the halfway point. Tomorrow is the Rule of Five draft, but the buzz, and I think buzz is probably somewhat of an understatement, has been about Shohei Ohtani. I'm gonna go through a little bit of a timeline in a moment, but I just give me look, just give me your kind of reaction of, the last maybe 3 weeks and the last few days and kind of what it felt like to be a Jays fan, in your position.
You know, I mean, knowing that Shohei Ohtani was going to be a free agent this year, it's in the back of your mind. Well, maybe the Jays could sign them. Obviously, Rogers has the money. I don't think that's much of a problem, but it was always, the scuttlebutt around there. Everybody kind of saying, "Well, he's going to the Dodgers." That's the assumption. And so, as you start hearing like, "Oh, the Blue Jays are in on Shohei," it's like, okay, sure, but the Blue Jays are in on everybody always. And so I didn't pay it that much attention. It's kind of low level. Don't get excited. He'll probably go to the Dodgers. Blue Jays aren't going to spend that much money. And then the rumors kind of flying, you know, here and there, and you hear this and that, and it, it gets more and more serious. And as you try and sort of hedge your excitement, uh, as a Blue Jays fan that is, I wouldn't say that always disappointed with free agents. I mean, we signed George Springer and others, but you know you don't sort of expect it. So you're trying to you know temper your excitement and say hey, it's not gonna happen. Don't worry about it. He'll go to the Dodgers. But the more and more it happens, the more I'm finding myself. I mean, I was texting you like I'm just like I'm buying into the hype train. I'm here for it, and I'm at the point where I kind of don't want to be in terms of you know uh, I'm excited for it, and if it doesn't happen, I'll be disappointed, and I don't want to be that. I'm usually trying to kind of hedge those expectations and be optimistic and hopeful.
Dustin, I think you did mention some larger signings that the Jays have made the past few years. I think those are probably pale in comparison, given like this is arguably the greatest player to play the game, right? Like we're talking about, back to Babe Ruth and how he could pitch and all this. I I don't think this is to the level of what Shohei Ohtani could do, and obviously the game has also changed as well, significantly since Babe Ruth was hitting towering home runs and whatnot. Now I do want to just go into a little bit of timeline here because it really picked up last week, but I think there's always been some buzz about the Jays and Ohtani. Now, November 15th is the date that Ohtani turns down his qualifying offer. And so, should the Jays be successful in this pursuit of Ohtani, they would lose the second and fifth highest picks in the following year's draft. So I guess next year's draft. They would also lose 1 million from their international signing bonus or their international bonus pool for the upcoming signing period. So uh, it seems like it's worth it in both cases. But as I mentioned last week, Ben Nicholson Smith, BNS, he reports that the Otani field was narrowing. So December 1st, that's Friday, and that reps from, I guess, prospective teams were meeting with Otani in Los Angeles. So, this was meted with some, this is good and, things are moving along, which was great. But yesterday, and actually I guess it was overnight, really, into today. So yesterday, Ross Atkins reschedules his press conference to a Zoom meeting, and he also refuses. This like I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of liking Ross Atkins a little bit. He refuses to like confirm where he is. Some cloak and dagger stuff. So these were looked at as some breadcrumbs and some clues that the Jays are clearly in on Ohtani because Ross Atkins can't be in Nashville, and that seemed to be true as this morning. We woke up and Ken Rosenthal reports that Ohtani met with the Jays at their Florida complex yesterday. So things are getting real. Things are truly happening. I think, I explained before that I do something of kind of you mentioned there. I call it emotional hedging in that I don't get too excited, but I think there's something definitely big happening here. And the other item that happened today, I don't know if you saw the Cubs. So one of the reporters for I think USA Today, but correct me if I'm wrong, if someone has it. But the Cubs basically optimism. So the Cubs were reported as another possible destination for Otani, but the Cubs' optimism in signing him has waned. So it seems like this is essentially a two-horse race. There's probably an unknown horse out there as well, but seems Dodgers Jays, which is like totally crazy to me when I think about it. Like I can't. I have to like pinch myself when I make that statement. And it seems like, the Jays really are a true contender for his signature.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm kind of surprised that um, there's so much. I guess I'm not surprised that the Jays fans are excited. I'm surprised that people seem so shocked out there. The Rosenthals and the people out there that are just baseball guys and not Jays reporters. The Jays are owned by probably the richest, owner in MLB in terms of Rogers. Um, Shohei Ohtani. I mean, the rumors are half a billion to 600 million. I mean, Rogers posted, I think, like a $15 billion revenue last year in 2023. So that's 1/30th of 1 year's revenue spread out over 10 or 12 years or however long the contract would end up being. I mean, that's nothing compared to what Otani might bring in terms of excitement for the team and possible, you know, uh, you know, success on the field, and merchandise. Not to mention Japanese, TV rights and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not surprised at all that the Blue Jays are considering it. But you're right. It is something that's, as a fan that's maybe not used to this team signing the best free agent out there, it's definitely kind of a new experience.
I have been listening closely to, some of, I guess, the main podcasts at the Letters and some of the other podcasts that with the main Toronto beat writers. And it seems like the Jays have been in a lot of discussions with big time free agents. Corey Seager, of course, they were in discussions to re-sign Marcus Simeon. But I think, you know, I think the Jays fans are definitely a little skeptical about how far, and how real this is. And it's definitely real at this point. I don't think anyone can really refute that. But the front office, I think, I don't know, their vibes definitely have kind of led Jays fans to believe that this, a lot of this is just sales, right? And selling that, they're in the conversation. Now, I would argue, will it suck if they are not successful in this pursuit? And they are still not the favorite, but I think the fact that they are in these conversations shows the sign of a club that's, its profile is increasing, right? Because, will there be another Otani in the next 10 years? Probably not. But they need to go into these negotiations anyway to show that, this isn't a club that's, looking to save money and always, on the cheap, and that kind of vibe. And I think there's definitely some positives there.
Absolutely, yeah. I think, as I saw a similar sentiment on Twitter as well. Yeah, this is signals, to the fan base, hey, like, we're serious. Even if they don't get him, yeah, it'll be disappointing, but at least, it's more than just, yeah, the Jays inquired about Shohei Ohtani. It's, you know, I mean, if the rumors that he's in Dunedin and that they're meeting together are true, you know, they're courting him seriously, right? If he's in Dunedin, that means they're showing him the facilities. They're showing him the whatever they've got down there that will help him, because he's probably that kind of player in terms of he's always working on himself. At least that's what I hear. And so, that's going to be something that he's going to value is those kinds of facilities, those kinds of, you know, evaluation tools. Is probably meeting with the different coaches and different, trainers or whatever they've got down there. So, yeah, it's definitely speaking to a level of seriousness that the Blue Jays have at, improving this club, um, you know, into the future. I mean, no, there's no uh, question that Shohei is a 10-year kind of commitment. I mean, I guess you could build in opt-outs or whatever into the contract, but I mean, uh, he's going to be wanting to sign for a long term for a lot of money.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Opto because I was actually just about to touch on this. I think that we've come down to it. I think the Jays are, I think the Jays have, we've heard that they're a dark horse and, the sleepers and the Otani sweepstakes. I think the opt out is what probably brings Otani to Toronto. Of course, there's all the other stuff and the facilities and wanting to win and, all the stuff that we know as a baseball player. But that's the opt out is basically like, I'm gonna do this, and you know what? If it doesn't work out, so that I'm not here for 10 years, then I can go to the Dodgers in however many years. Now, Dustin, do you think that there is an amount of time before that opt out comes, I guess, would be effect, like, let's say the dream happens and Shohei signs. How many years before an opt out do you think you need to have him?
I mean, ideally, you'd want him for 5 years, I think. I mean, definitely. I mean, definitely the next two, while you've got Bo and Vladdy definitely on the team. Hopefully, there's still some room to sign one of those. Um, but I mean, I would think with all the money that they're spending on these renovations and, all the sort of hype that's been having that we've had over the last couple of years in terms of the window of competitiveness, I think they're going to want to, if they sign Shohei, they're going to want to extend that competitiveness for, another 3 or 4 years beyond next. And, um, and then, they're going to want to make some promises to him that they're going to be competitive in the time that he's here. I mean, I'm sure he wants to win. So that's what I would say, 5 years at least.
I think if you sign Otani and there's a 5 year, like if there's an opt out after five, I think it's a huge, like I think it's huge, right? I don't know if they're going to be able to pull that off. And I think what I guess the tug of war of sorts is going to be over. Like I imagine if it does come to fruition, there's going to be an opt out after 3 or 4 years, and the Jays will obviously pull for four, and I think Otani will probably listen, options for a player. He wants his obviously his money is 10 years or whatever the commitment is, but an opt out is really something that benefits him. Xander Bogaerts opted out from the Red Sox, got a huge payday with the Padres. So it's definitely something that players in baseball definitely want. And yeah, if it's 5 years, man, I that's amazing. I if it happens, I'm not expecting that, but I would be thrilled if that was the case.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess you're right. I mean, to have a shorter term there um, would be more attractive to Otani. I guess it depends on his sort of expectations and wants as well. Like, does he want stability? Maybe there is some sort of question marks in his head. Is he going to enjoy living in Toronto? Is he going to enjoy, is the team going to be competitive beyond the next couple of years? Um, that's a job for Ross Atkins and Shapiro to convince him of. Um, and I think that on the liking Toronto side of thing, I think someone like you said Kikuchi could help with that, and I know they went to the same high school.
All right, we're back. Dustin has traversed southern Ontario and reached home, and we're going to continue talking about, of course, Otani. Dustin, I did have a chance over I guess, our dinner break podcast to catch a little bit of Twitter before we logged on, and it appears that the LA Dodgers are taking a very different strategy to the Jays in their pursuit of Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, I think there's been a little bit of a, you might call it, gaffe on behalf of um, their manager in making comments. I know that um, there's been a request on behalf of Shohei Ohtani and his camp that, meetings and these kind of negotiations are kept secretive. They don't want anything leaked. And so there's a lot of wringing of hands over a comment by the Dodgers manager um, that you know they met basically, um, and a lot of people think this might jeopardize their chances, which is good for Blue Jays fans.
Well, Dustin, I don't know if you saw the clip. I actually probably watched it maybe 5 minutes ago, and just for the I guess the listeners who haven't seen it, Dave Roberts, the LA Dodgers manager, he's been their manager for a few years now, and he he's in the middle of his I guess his scrum or press conference at the winter meetings, which all of the managers do, and he has this like long like this pause, and then he's like, "Yeah, we met with them," and basically he's kind of just the I guess the gist of it is Shohei Ohtani is their top priority. Now this isn't of course news to anybody. Like this is we all everybody even down to us lowly fans who have small Blue Jays podcasts. We do this that he was their top priority. The Dodgers let Trey Turner go last year. He signed a massive contract with the Phillies, and that was essentially in preparation for Otani pursuit. But on the flip side of it, Ross Atkins, um, as dumb as that presser was, at the end of the season, he has been extremely careful with what he said. And I've been pretty impressed actually. Like there's very clearly a strategy. This is how we're going to communicate what's happening to the media. And I don't know. It seems to be going okay so far. We could wake up tomorrow morning and learn that he signed with the Dodgers, but I don't know. It seems to be, good things are seemingly happening.
Yeah, I'm absolutely impressed as well with the way the team's kind of respecting the process, and I think there was a lot. The funny part about this Dave Richards thing, to me, is the news that was swirling yesterday was that Otani uh, met with the Blue Jays at the Dunedin facility, and this was seen as a leak, and this jeopardizes the Blue Jays' chances. And I've seen Dodgers fans, uh, uh, celebrate this yesterday, and that's those same Dodgers fans on Twitter today are, um, you know, downplaying and wringing their hands and saying how it's stupid that a player would just choose a team based on what leaks, and so it's it's kind of funny.
Dave Roberts, he's obviously aware of what's happening. What was reported with the Blue Jays. Like everybody's aware, as biggest story in baseball. And it kind of like I'm gonna call and raise, like he's like, oh, let me get in on this, and it seems like the Dodgers GM that wasn't part of the plan.
Absolutely not. No, yeah, I think Shohei said so. Basically, I think, just to paraphrase, he basically said, if something leaks about these discussions, I'm going to hold it against that team in my decision. Well, you know, something was said about the meeting. Something was leaked. Pretty, and not just leaked. It was outright said on caught on camera, 4K. I mean, oh my God, it's not good for that.
There's definitely a difference, and I read the same comments that you did. Oh, that's a leak. The Blue Jays are out. What's a leak? A leak is when your manager straight up tells the world that this happened. Like that's a leak, right? And I think um I think they talked to Ross Atkins kind of like following that Dave Roberts interview. And again, very careful. He was not in any way confirming that they met with them. He's not confirming it at all. And I'm liking the tact. I'm definitely liking it. And we have a little bit of we have the financial might of Rogers. Seems like the front office is playing their cards right, and things are proceeding as good as I guess they can be based on the tea leaves that we're reading and reports from legit reporters.
Yeah, exactly. I think I saw Ross Haskins kind of say, you know, we're happy to be in the conversation, and we're basically we're doing the best we can to make the team better, and obviously Shohei's a good option, but you know yeah, basically I think he outright said to I saw him with I don't know if it was Arden Dwelling or it might have been Ben Nicholson Smith, one of those two, and then I think Hazel May was there. Um, and basically, he said, if I comment on that, then that jeopardizes our chances. So I'm not going to comment. I mean, that's paraphrasing, but that's what he said, essentially. And that's, hey, there you go. That's, he's trying to land Shohei Ohtani. That would be, I mean, let's build a statue of Ross Atkins outside of the Rogers Center if he does it. Like that would be a feather in his cap. You know, the biggest feather. So I'm sure he's doing his best. Whatever little advantage you can gain, that's why not do it? It's not going to help you to talk about it, right?
I'm sure they're having daily meetings, like, here's what's happening, here's where we are, this is how we're communicating, like like any business, right? Um, so obviously the Shohei Ohtani biggest story in the game, and the talk of the winter meetings, but the other player that is the um, almost equal, like if you log on to any sort of and if you read any reports, it's basically Otani and then Juan Soto. And I don't know if I am surprised or not, but the Jays are apparently in on Juan Soto as well. The backstory here is San Diego Padres need to shed some payroll, and Juan Soto, he's going to be he has a one more year of arbitration before he hits free agency, and he's going to be about 30 million in arbitration, they anticipate. So the Padres would like to move him along, and of course save that 30 million, as I think they're, I can't remember the figure, but they're trying to get rid of a lot of salary, and they have a lot of very highly paid players. But the Jays are in on this apparently. And Dustin, why don't you give me your thoughts on maybe Juan Soto the player, and you know, should the Jays continue to pursue him? Do their Otani pursuits affect that? Like, just give me the rundown here.
I mean, in relation to Otani, I mean, I would think that Soto is maybe the backup option to getting Otani. Not because he's any better or worse as a player, but just, I mean, as you pointed out, or 1 year of Soto, you got to make a trade in order to get him, and you can't guarantee you're going to sign him. I mean, there's no doubt Juan Soto would make this team 1,000% better. I mean, he'd be the best player on the Blue Jays the day he puts on that jersey, and he is absolutely no doubt future Hall of Famer, caliber bat. Um, so I would be probably almost as ecstatic to have him on the team as Otani. I mean, if we get Juan Soto, that's a pretty good consolation prize. I think a lot of the hesitancy is obviously the 1 year, the trade, and the no guarantee of signing him. That being said, we see the seriousness with which the Blue Jays are pursuing um, Shohei. If they don't get him, I mean, you get Juan Soto. I mean, trade the farm. I don't care. Like, I'm not a prospect hugger, so get him on the team, put him in a Blue Jays uniform. You have a whole year of courting him and showing him what this team has, what this team um, believes in, and so you have all that. You, if you're serious about Shohei, you're going to be serious about signing Juan Soto in the offseason next year, and you're going to be probably just as competitive in terms of that conversation. Um, Not to mention, I think Vladdy is a good friends with Juan Soto, as far as I understand. So there's that connection. Um, so yeah, those are my general thoughts. I'd be happy to have him for sure.
Well, I think as a player, you definitely want someone of Juan Soto's caliber in the lineup. My concern is that this is essentially a rental. And I know you mentioned that there's no guarantee of them signing him. I would say the likelihood of them signing of the Blue Jays signing Juan Soto is considerably less than Shohei Ohtani. Like, I don't think he's resigning. I think this is basically you want him for a year, you got him for a year. He turned down $440 million and 15 years from the Washington Nationals. So we're kind of entering Shohei Ohtani waters. Now he is 26, so he's pretty young to be hitting free agency. So you would be getting, even if you threw him 10 years, those 10 years would be probably pretty productive years, right? Now, I just don't like the fact that it's for 1 year. He's a Scott Boras agent. He will go to free agency. And instead of, negotiating with one team, Scott Boras says, hey, I'm going to negotiate with 30 teams. And I I guess if the price is right, right? Maybe, let's say you're giving up Manoa and maybe a couple prospects. You know what, Manoa, we don't know what he's gonna do. I I guess I'd be okay with that, but it depends on who the prospects are. I'm not giving up Ricky Tiedemann, and I'm not, I any player or any prospect that is kind of in line to fill essentially what would be a hole. So like, like a corner outfielder, third base, maybe second base kind of player. Um, you know, they don't really have any catchers to speak of anymore in the system. But I'm just not sure that I would give up that much to give Soto for 1 year, and you know that 1 year could lead to we could have a Raptors situation, right? It could be Kawhi, like it could be Kawhi Soto, and he comes and they win a World Series, or we have a repeat of last year and we crash out, and you just gave up some useful players that you could use in the next few years. And so I'm not. I like Juan Soto as a player. I think he would be, you'd slot in nicely in left field with Varsho moving to center. I think he would slot into the lineup well. He's a lefty. I just, I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like that it's a rental a situation, and I'm, I think I'm all in on Otani, which of course the Jays are, and following that, I think there's some other options that I think the Jays should pursue.
Flags fly forever, Al. Prospects will break your heart. Sell the farm. I don't care. Give me Kawhi Soto. I mean, damn, that would be the best year as a Blue Jays fan I've had in a long time, since I was 10 and 11 years old. So I'm all on board for doing that. I mean, you know, Jose Barrios was traded for I don't even remember who, but none of those guys are nobodies now. I bet you look at the trade that we made for Matt Chapman and Jose Barrios, like any of those prospects that we gave up for those guys, people were saying what you're saying about Ricky Tiedemann, and Addison Barger, or whoever you want to kind of name on the prospect list right now. Oh, these guys could be something. Blah blah blah. They're nobodies right now. I think I trust Ross Atkins to make pretty good trades, and I think if you have Juan Soto, you have him in a Blue Jays uniform, you have him experience a whole year with this team, it puts you in a better position for signing him in next year's offseason. I agree with you that Scott Boras is not going to uh, advise Juan Soto to sign mid-season next year. But like I said, this process right now where they're going after Ohtani, why wouldn't the Blue Jays also go after Juan Soto in 2024? Right, we could be talking here December 2024, the same kind of situation where Juan Soto's, yeah, he's hit free agency. Yeah, he's seeing what other teams have. But the Blue Jays are one of those teams. The Blue Jays are a team that he's familiar with. He sees how the fans love him or whatever. He has, he's made some friends on the team, and he sees the facilities and all that stuff. There's some benefit to just bringing him on the team. I, you know, like I said, I don't. There's no prospect on that list. I mean, Ricky Tiedeman's probably the only one that I would kind of be like, it's tough to lose him. Um, but you know, I don't know. Juan Soto is a generational kind of guy. Um, Similar, like he's just a step down from Shohei. Like if Shohei never pitches, he's Juan Soto, right?
Yeah, I think Shohei Ohtani is a better player, but and of course, obviously he pitches, so that has to be considered. I so you would be okay giving up your number one prospect 2 years in a row, two off seasons in a row.
Yeah,
Is that what I understand?
absolutely. Unless your number one prospect is Juan Soto, right? Like unless he's you know gonna be the guy. I don't think. I mean, Ricky Tiedemann. Like I think he's gonna be good. I think he's gonna be a good pitcher, but he's not. You know, he's not the best pitching prospect we've ever seen. Or something like he's not like a. If you have the chance to get Juan Soto on your team, my man, fuck, you do it. That's what I say.
I respect your opinion. Um, I guess we can maybe have this conversation a little bit more when we know what happens with Otani, because I think like everybody, fucking everybody who's anybody is essentially waiting, right? And that's it, right? Everybody's just waiting.
And I think that's it. I think if if Otani had signed like first day of free agency with the Dodgers, he just kind of signed, and like we're not talking about him right now. How would that adjust your thinking about Juan Soto conversation right now, right? Like, are you thinking your hesitancy on Juan Soto is because you're comparing it to the possibility of like a 10-year Shohei Ohtani,
Mm, no,
dynasty?
I'm just the thing is like okay. So last year we traded our number one prospect for a I guess a center fielder and a nine-hole hitter. So I feel like we got a little burnt there. But and maybe that's the reason why I'm stating and having this position. I just I my understanding from the Shatkins kind of they didn't want to go the Alex Anthopoulos route. Do you know what I mean? And so are after a couple years of playoff failure, they're just throwing it out, and we're changing tact. I don't know. I yeah, I don't know. I just going all in is great, and I want to do that, but I just kind of I think actually the one player I would give up other players. I wouldn't give up Ricky Tiedemann. That's what I'll say.
Fair
I
enough.
that would be the line I would draw. Is I wouldn't give up Ricky Tiedemann.
And that's probably fair. I mean, he is looking like he's going to be a stud. Um, but maybe you trade. Um, um,
I'd
you
trade
know,
Manoa.
oh, Manoa exactly.
I'd
Yeah,
be okay with that.
right. You're selling low on him, but I'm sure somebody's going to dream on his 2021 season coming back and him shaping up. I mean, just not to repeat myself, but I mean, I looked up who we traded Jose Barrios, who we got Jose Barrios for. Austin Martin and Simeon Woods Richardson. I mean, like, these guys aren't making an impact. They're not, you know, the Twins don't have, you know, those guys as perennial kind of people. Like prospects are meant to be traded. I think that you either have somebody like Boba or um, uh, Vladimir Guerrero, like somebody who's like a can't miss guy, and those are the guys you hug, right? But any of these guys, like, you can dream on them, and if they figure it out, and blah 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 blah, trade those guys away for guys that have proven that. I mean, somebody like Juan Soto, I agree. Ricky Tiedemann's like I said, if I found out they traded him in a deal for Juan Soto, I'd be like, ah, man, that sucks. But hey, we got Juan Soto, and this team has shown its a its willingness to pay free agents, and we can always, there's always going to be somebody out there that we can fill in our pitching staff. Somebody who is just as good as Ricky Tiedemann, that you may need to overpay for, but I mean, the Jays are, I think, kind of trending towards being a high payroll team.
Well, and so here's the other, I think, component to my point, and it kind of touches on a point you made, I think, a few episodes ago, is that if you're gonna have these whales, right? These whales on your team, I think you need to have players coming through the system who are not on very much, money, right? And you're kind of you're getting a lot from I guess you're getting a lot for, a small amount of salary and of course, um, quote unquote years of control, as they would say. That's all. So, we're bringing, we have, if we're trying to bring in some big players, we have Bo and Vladdy coming up for free agency. I just kind of worry that, okay, let's say you re-sign Bo Bichette and you got Springer on his big deal, and maybe there's another large free agent signed in the next two off seasons. Who's going to kind of step in to fill these holes? Now, another player that has been people, I guess, GMs are inquiring about is Davis Schneider. So, uh, Davis Schneider's one that apparently is getting some talk, and I don't know. Like I don't know what kind of value he has. Maybe he's a throw in the Juan Soto deal or whatnot. But I like James Shiner, but I wouldn't be I wouldn't I wouldn't be too upset with him going. I think the 50 plus ladies crowd would be, but not me.
Yeah, I mean, you make a good point. I mean, I'll applaud you for using my own logic against me.
No, and
You're
that's not
right.
my
No,
intention. It's just
no, I know.
I think
I'm just
I just
joking.
think that you need like I would expect a front office to say, okay, here are the players that we actually see going to be, breaking through. Um, the one, the one player that's got a bunch of talk is, was it Damiano Paul Jimmy? Like,
I
Paul,
don't know. I know who
yeah,
you're talking about.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So he's another one that they think might be able to break camp, and you always get these players that pop up, and can they sustain themselves, right? But I think if there's one thing that I think is probably important, especially with a team that wants to spend a lot of money, is like I think you do need players coming through because that's what sustains the any sort of success, right? Like the Houston Astros, like they've pretty much moved on from most of the guys that have won them World Series, but they're still they've made like seven straight ALCSs, right? Like that's that that means you have other players coming through, right? And that's all. I just wouldn't be, you know, cleaning out the cabinet as you would kind of say for 1 year. Now, who knows? Maybe they'd make some other moves, and that that's kind of the cherry on the top, the Juan Soto, like he just slots in there nicely. But we'll see how this offseason plays out. In terms of this offseason, Dustin, I was talking with Rob work, I find it to be a very so obviously Otani, top of the pile, that's top priority. But and you can already sense my hesitation with Juan Soto, but I'm this is a really really tricky offseason for the Jays. Like assuming let's assume for a moment for the next part of the discussion is that we don't Otani Otani says thanks, I really appreciated it and I love Toronto, coming to Toronto, but I'm going to stick with my, gut and I'm going to stay in Los Angeles and sign with the Dodgers. This is a really dodgy offseason for the Jays, right? Because there's not a lot of position players available. You trade for 1 year of possibly Juan Soto. As I said, he's going to free agency. He might. I literally just watched a video with Ken Rosenthal talking about he might get Otani money, which I think is somewhat absurd. But um, he's younger. He's that good of a player. I get it. But if you go to Cody Bellinger, right? Left-handed bat, can play center field, first base. He has a bunch of suitors, but there are a lot of people that have their doubts that Cody Bellinger can get back to his MVP self. He his I think they call it like ball tracking stats, right? Um, the underlying stats. So he had what 20, I'm gonna say like 26, 29 home runs. He was pushing 100 RBIs, which on the face of it is good, but it seems like his ball tracking stats, so how hard he hits the ball, average exit velocity, like I saw someone said that his exit velocity is similar to Jan Gomes, right?
Okay.
Now, it's like, do they go that way? And it's like, do you really want to overpay, right? Because then you have Bo and Vladdy becoming free agents, right? And how do all these moves look? If you're going to put their extensions on hold for Otani or otherwise, how does it look to them? Are they interested in staying? What other moves do you have to make? It's a really tricky offseason, and I don't envy Ross Atkins and Mark Shapiro's position.
No, I don't either. I mean, you're right. I mean, it is kind of tough, outside of Otani and you know Soto to really the distance between them and someone like Bellinger is a pretty far distance, and so it would be a little bit of a disappointment from that point of view and difficult to make the team better. I don't think you know all this stuff that with Otani kind of changes my opinion on Bellinger. I think he's still a pretty good fit. I think he's still somebody that could come to the Blue Jays and do well. Um, you know, the thing about the hard hit stat in my eyes is that it doesn't, you know, you got to combine that with the launch angle or whatever. You could hit the ball hard, like Vladimir Guerrero hits the ball really hard, and the year he had last year wasn't um, what we expected. Now maybe it's above average, and so I think he got a lot of benefit from the hard hit ball. So even if he hits it on the ground, he hits it hard and it squeaks through, that kind of thing. But um, yeah, I mean it's a risk. Otani and Soto are kind of as close to a guarantee as you can get, and then as you get down, you're sort of taking on more and more risk. You're basically buying risk aversion with the dollars that people that's why certain players earn more money than others, is because they're less risky in terms of their predictable performance in the future. um, but I think we talked about it before. I think Ross Atkins and Mark Shapiro have done a decent enough job. I've been satisfied with their off seasons for the last 2 or 3 years in terms of signing reasonably sort of good players like Springer, like Chapman, um, Ryu, Gosman. They've brought in some pretty, yeah, pretty highly kind of coveted guys for their sort of um, free agent class, and they have done a reasonably good job at sort of building the farm. And there are some pretty um, dreamable guys. I know I just got done kind of poo-pooing prospects, but there are some guys down there that are reasonably sort of uh, you know usable, I think, or will be in the future. So I trust that Ross Atkins, even if they don't get Otani or Soto, the fact that they were in on the conversation so thoroughly just speaks to the fact that they're going to do what they can to improve this club, and they have a pretty good kind of eye for what's valuable. So I, I would trust the process.
Well, I think as disappointing as it would be to knock it Otani after all this frothing at the mouth and lathering up over the
Hmm.
past, what, 5, 6 days, I do think that there is some value to having your name out there, that the Jays were down to the final two or what have you, um, because that other players will be able to consider that. Other Japanese players will consider that too, right? Like, just because, yes, Otani would absolutely be massive. I think, you know in Canada alone, he'd probably sell, what, 3 to 5 million Otani jerseys. Like, he would instantly be the most popular jersey on the team. Never mind in Japan, but just having the name mentioned. Obviously, Kikuchi's already on the team, but just being a part of that conversation. I think this team is building. I don't know, like, it is improving, getting better, spending more money. You know, if you told me 2 months ago that on December 5th, the Jays are probably one of the final three, and really in the conversation to get Otani's signature, I would have laughed at you, like, laughed in your face. And that's it's crazy. Now, did the playoff outcome or playoff performance, maybe, did that kickstart, where Shapiro went to Rogers and said, "Hey, we got a unicorn here. We need to do this. And after the last year, we need to really flip the script." Possible. Maybe this was what they're going to do all along. I don't know. I think if they did better in the last couple of seasons, I kind of doubt that, but I don't know. It's now the off season has been in a complete holding pattern, and maybe we might find out more by this weekend. But yeah, I think it's in general better for the team to be all in these conversations. Yamamoto, the other Japanese pitcher, he's gonna get 200 plus million, and the Jays are in that conversation too. And we're talking about, this isn't like a whimsical, despite what some tools on Twitter will tell you. This isn't some, like, whimsical, like, oh, they were never in it. Like, no, we have, like, legit journalists, the Ken Rosenthals, the Jeff Passans of the world. Like, every time these players come up, the Blue Jays are one of the first three teams mentioned. And that's crazy, right? Like, when you think about it, that's nuts when you consider you have the Mets, the Yankees, the Braves, um, the Rangers, the Dodgers, like, the Giants, like, on and, like, if the Toronto Blue Jays sign Shohei Ohtani ahead of the San Francisco Giants and LA Dodgers, that is insane, Dustin. Just think about that for a sec.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it shows that you know the Blue Jays are, or should be, based on the ownership, uh, should be up there in that conversation with all of those teams. I think another benefit that even just the pursuit of Otani, despite whether or not they get him, will help with is the re-signing of Bo Bichette probably in the next 2 years, or even if Vladimir Guerrero kind of turns it around and becomes who we think he should be, his re-signing in the next, or his signing in his free agency year, um, you know, those guys will be looking at this year and will be saying, yeah, they didn't get him, but they were serious and they put up the money and they have the money and okay, this team, you know, it, they're going to be willing to, if they see value in me, that offer me the money that I am worth. And so I think that's another benefit. But yeah, this is a serious team.
Well, on that note, I think it's probably all the time we have for today. Dustin, where can we find you uh, on that former website?
You can find me at Rusty Hoser.
Well, you can find me at Org Chaos Sports on that website formerly known as Twitter, and the podcast Twitter account is S2S Pod. We'll be tweeting out, of course, the episodes there. You can reach out to us. Dustin, thank you again for joining me.